Poker is a game of information, and the more you have of it, the better. After all, if you knew everyone's cards, it would be easy, right? Players obtain information in different ways. This program will help you know where to look for it.
There's no right or wrong way to play poker. There's not one method that will guarantee success, but there are ways and means for you to maximize your chances of winning. There are good habits and bad habits. There are situations to avoid and situations to seek. And there are those who have the knowledge to exploit them. We're going to teach you how to master the game, from the basics to the advanced.
In Level 2 so far, we've covered betting, why and when you should do it, and how getting the size of a bet right can be the fine line between victory and despair. We looked at the art of folding, and in the last show we checked out playing styles. Now it's time to focus on your opposition and how to get the better of them. This show is all about gathering information. Your success at the tables may very well depend on how much information you can gather and how much you give away.
How about if I show you mine and you show me yours?
This show looks at poker played all over the world, but today we'll travel to Macau for a hand from the Asia Pacific Poker Tour, and we'll visit the capital of poker, Las Vegas, as we drop in on the home of kid poker, Mr. Daniel Negreanu, who shows us what information to look out for when playing online. We'll also take a look at body language and the betting patterns you should look out for. Plus, we cover more terminology and take in a few important pieces of advice. But before all that, we'll kick everything off, as usual, with the first of today's 2 tutorials.
There's an abundance of information that can help you in your decision-making process. Obviously, there are your cards and the community cards. There's your position at the table, determined by the dealer button. There are the actions of the other players, bet sizes, and a lot more. The more of this you gather, the better your decision can be. So this tutorial is going to look at studying your opponent's playing styles and betting patterns. First, we'll look at the playing style of your opponent. Here, you are on the button holding Queen Jack. Not the strongest of hands, but one with potential. Everybody folds to the cutoff who makes a raise. Firstly, you must consider where the raise has come from. So what do we know about the raise? He is in late position and all the players folded to him. So he might be trying to steal the blinds, which means that his hand probably can't stand a raise if you decide to do that. Secondly, how active is the player? If the player is very active and tends to raise a lot of hands, it is even more likely that his holding isn't great. To figure out what type of player you are facing, you just need to observe him. Do they play a lot of hands? Do they raise a lot in late position? Have you seen them fold to a re-raise? If the answer to most of these questions is no, you can safely assume that they have a strong starting hand, and you can fold your mediocre Queen Jack. If the answer is yes, consider raising or calling. It is especially important to observe the player directly to your left and right. The style of player to your left determines how easily you can steal their blinds. If they are very cautious, you might take most opportunities to try and steal. If they are strong or aggressive players, you want to limit this to only your decent starting hand. The players to your right are important as their style determines how hard you should defend your blinds. If they raise often, you can call, or even raise with a wide range of hands.
220.
If they don't, tighten up and only play strong holdings. You should also observe the betting patterns of your opponents. Work out how much they bet when weak and when strong. Some players tend to bet big amounts if they are bluffing, and small amounts if they have a strong hand. Others do the exact opposite. Stay observant, and if you figure out what bets mean for a particular player, you will have them in your pocket.
Recap. Look out for your opponent's playing styles and their betting patterns. Keep an extra eye out on your neighbours, as it's them you're most likely to play against when the blinds are at stake. In the next tutorial, we'll tell you about some specific things to look out for when playing online. Okay, ever wished a poker pro would explain how to gather information on your opponents whilst playing online? Well, today's your lucky day. Here's Daniel Negreanu doing just that.
We went to Vegas to observe Daniel in his natural habitat to see if we could pick up any tips from the poker legend.
Well played.
As he takes us through his online strategy.
Hello everybody, we are at my house. Okay, so here's the deal. I'm gonna play a 6-max sit and go here and do my best to try to figure out some tendencies of the players, and we'll go over how you do that. I don't know any of these guys at the table right now, so they're a blank slate to me, so I'm basically gonna base my decisions on the limited information that I'm gonna get here. Well, I'm on the button, so you know, you want to be aggressive when you're in position, especially 6-handed. So 7-9 offsuit, not a great hand, but in position. Neither of these players have played a hand yet, so you know, there's a good chance that they're also playing very tight and early going. So I think there's a decent chance I'll pick up the 30. And if someone raises, well, I'll obviously just fold. Well, and B-Ball Wiz has re-raised me to 160. So I'm gonna let this one go. Minimal damage. Normally, when I play these things, I sit on the couch. I'm more of a lie-down guy, and Mushu's next to me, my little dog, who burrows. Chihuahuas love to burrow. So when people come to my house, one of the first things I tell them is don't sit anywhere if there's a blanket because you might crush my dog.
Okay, no one's gonna sit on your dog, dude. Get back to the poker.
So interesting, that we've seen 2 limps now, and that tells me that these guys are not all that experienced because 6-max, you really don't, there's not a lot of reason to limp in. If you're gonna play, you should probably raise. So this player have to call, just limped, and earlier, you know, Edvin 8, the very last hand, he also limped in, so it just shows me that they're not professionals. Well, have to call, it just limped in, and now he's checking all the way down against the big blind, so it's giving me the impression that he's a little bit of a weak player. So now we get a chance to see what they had. The big blind had 9-6 for 2 pair, and now you can click on this button, which is important to do, and have a look at what he limped with. He had 4-5 offsuit? So yeah, that's very bizarre. He limped in with 4-5 offsuit, the flop came 10-10-9, check, made a 4 in the river, and called. Have to call is obviously not a very good player. So next time, based on that information that I saw on have to call, I'm gonna try to isolate him, and I'm gonna try to play a lot of pots with him in position since I'm right on his left. The bar area is kind of like the Bob Marley corner. Always been a reggae fan. They're everywhere. I mean, even if you go to the bathroom, you're not left alone. Bob is there with you. So far we know that have to call is a limper, kind of weak, passive. B-Ball Wiz, when I raised him the button, he 3-bet me from the small blind, and he's been playing pretty tight, so my read is he's the most likely to be a professional at this table, maybe also Piper K. Let's see, I have an ace in the small blind. Don't love it, but I'm gonna make it 3 times the blind and try to just pick it up. Oh, he's re-raised me again. So that's 2 times in a row now where I've raised and he's re-raised. So I'm gonna throw this away again, ace-6 offsuit, but it lets me know that when B-Ball plays, he's gonna be re-raising a lot. So if he does re-raise me and I have a hand like 9s or 10s, against him, I'm gonna probably go with it because he's re-raising a lot, so I can play with him with a weaker hand. He's all in, okay, perfect. Nope, I'm gonna stick it all in. Focus on the fact that I did well there. Whoa, all right. We've got ace-10, have to call's raising the button to 450. It's a strong enough hand, I think, here, where he plays pretty loose, that we're gonna stick it all in and hope that either A, we have the best hand, or B, that he folds. We obviously don't want B-Ball to call. If he calls, we're in real big trouble. And we've been called, uh-oh, we're in trouble. Ace-King against ace-10. Oh, flop to 10, but it's also a king there. 4 on the turn, 5. Okay, so now we are in rough shape. At this stage, you really gotta take some risks to get to the final 2, and we took ours, did not work out, but notice Edvin was down to 400 just a minute ago, and he's back to 3,700, so we won't quit. Oh well, you don't have to win everyone. Whoa, ship it. That kind of scares me. If we don't have anything decent, I'm gonna stick it all in. 2 5s, definitely better than we expected, so here's our big moment. All in for 435. Gotta have this one or we are done for. Have to call, called. He's got ace-queen, okay, so we're in front. It's a race, we lost the race. Ace on the flop. Nope. Well, that's it, we finished in 4th place, but I feel like we played okay. So, we learned to be aggressive halfway through, play tight early, and Pay attention to your opponent's pre-flop patterns, and that should help you understand their level of competence.
It's not just in live games that you hear poker slang.
I'm all in.
You're on the flush draw.
I run better than that.
Trapped him.
Don't play with me.
I wanted to bust you so bad!
Here's some online terminology. LOL, this stands for laughing out loud. You've probably heard that one before. ROFLMAO, this is an abbreviation of rolling on the floor laughing my arse off. Come on, who hasn't laughed so much their arse fell off? NH, this one means nice hand, a courteous appreciation of one's holdings.
Nice hand.
Sometimes used sarcastically.
Thanks.
GG, good game. If you play tournaments, you don't want to be saying this too often. It's poker's way of saying thank you and good night. WP, this is short for well played. It's a sign of appreciation from another player. Trust me, people say it to me all the time. Hollywood always suggests that the hero is able to make the winning call just by the look on the bad guy's face. Well, the truth is that tells come in many different forms. Here's a few things to look out for.
Some say it's all in the eyes. Others see a scratch or a rub, and that's all the information they need. Weak is strong. Strong is weak. Don't you dare reach for your chips as soon as the flop is dealt. Keep still, don't move, and never show your cards. To illustrate this, let's open the vault. In this hand from the big game, loose cannon Troy Howard has called Antonio Esfandiari's preflop raise with ace-queen suited. The notoriously aggressive Viffer has come along for the ride. The flop misses everyone and Howard checks. Viffer bets and both players fold.
I should have raised.
The difference between the two, Howard shows his cards. On a table full of pros, the last thing you want to do is let them know they can push you around. Big no-no. Now let's see how it should be done. Action comes from the Asia Pacific Poker Tour Season 2, the Macau main event. Mikhail Rosen has a monster hand with a set of jacks and has put Charles Chua all in after the flop.
All in.
Chua folds, and Rosen slides his cards back to the dealer, face down. Fast forward to later on in the tournament, and Chua's unhappy.
I'm more thinking about that hand with him.
Why? Because Rosen didn't show. Next up, keeping a straight face. We head to Monte Carlo and the 6th season of the European Poker Tour. Nicholas Chuiti has flopped the nuts straight and a straight flush draw against Craig McCorkle's second pair. Is McCorkle going to get any information here? Not likely. No movement, no information, and Chuiti goes on to win a big pot. Which is more than we can say for João Ferris and Punta del Este during the 2nd season of the Latin American Poker Tour. Here he bluffs out in the turn with King High. Pay close attention. The head shake is all the information his opponent needs to re-raise all in.
All in.
What did we tell you? Keep a straight face, or next time it might be you who's shaking their head after losing a big pot.
If you want to watch the show again, recap previous episodes, or join the series at a more advanced level, then go to everythingpoker.com. So now for today's pre-break question, where we're going to sweat a hand with Marcel Lusk against Ben Grundy, and you have to work out what cards are in Grundy's hand from the moves he makes. Marcel gets 9-10 suited in middle position, raising to 3 times the big blind, which is 24,000. Grundy then re-raises to 41,000. Marcel calls. Grundy checks the Jack 2-5 flop, and Marcel follows suit. The turn is the 4 of diamonds, and Grundy checks it again. Lusk decides to bluff and bets 50,000, and Grundy folds. Now, what could Grundy's hand be? Is it A, Queen Jack, B, Ace Queen, or C, 9-8? Join us after the break to find out the answer. Welcome back. Before the break, we asked you what cards Ben Grundy could possibly have. The answer was B, Ace Queen. And let's work out why. Before the flop, Grundy re-raised Marcel Lusk. This is our first indication he's holding a strong hand. The flop comes Jack 2-5, and Grundy checks, our second piece of evidence. Why raise pre-flop, but check after the flop? Our third clue is Grundy's second check after the turn card, once again showing weakness. Lusk makes a bet and Grundy reluctantly folds. This is our final clue. Lusk saw the narrow range of hands Grundy could be holding and took advantage of this information to take down the hand. Good example of using information in a live situation there, but how do you gather information online? Well, there are things to look out for, as Christian will now explain.
In the first tutorial, we told you a thing or two about gathering information. When you play online, you should still look out for the same things that we highlighted before, but here are some specific things to observe about your opponents when you're sitting in front of your computer. Do they often sit out? Sometimes you'll see a player run out of time on an online table. If it happens a lot, there's a good chance that they're not concentrating. They could be watching a film, at work, cooking, who knows. Just outplay them and steal their blinds when you see them sitting out. If they are sitting out, they'll auto-fold. Do they use the chat box? Most online players ignore the chat box completely, but when they do use it, take advantage. There are all kinds of things to look out for, but a common tell is when they're whining and insulting other players. Take advantage of this. They could be on tilt. Do they use the auto check box? Quick checks often mean that a player has ticked the auto check box. It's a sign of weakness. If they're strong, they're unlikely to auto check. Here, Ballantrae has quickly checked on the flop and the turn. Sensing the weakness, seat 3 bets, and Ballantrae, after showing weakness on the previous 2 streets, folds. How quickly do they play? Pay close attention to the speed of your opponent's play. Right now, we're going to watch All Love All In. He tends to bet very quickly, but something changes this time. Here he takes quite a while longer to bet the turn, which could signal that he's got a good hand. He also takes his time on the river. His opponent raises, and All Love All In calls. Lo and behold, we see that he has 2 pair. Similarly, if players are quick to check after the flop, they could be weak. In this example, we've raised on the button, and All Love All In has called on the small blind. Now pay attention to how quickly he checks. It's almost instant. This is a sign of weakness, so it's a good idea to c-bet, regardless of our weak hand. He quickly folds, and we win the pot.
Some great advice on what information to look out for when playing online. It could make all the difference in the long run. Here's Vanessa Selpst with an important tip on how to keep your opponents guessing about the way you play.
One great tip for beginners is just never show your cards. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. People want to show their cards when they're bluffing because they think it's going to give them a looser image, or they want to show it because they're proud of a play they made. Any information you give to the better players at the table, they're going to use against you. Trust me, when you have been playing tight and you show me that one bluff, it doesn't make me think that you're going to be bluffing in the future. It just makes me know that you think that I'm going to think that. And I'm going to use that information to my advantage because I've probably seen 10 people before you making that same play, showing that same card, and I know how to react to that information better than you know what to do with it. So I would say give as little information to the players at your table as possible and just never show your cards.
Good tip, Vanessa. Now, if you want to learn more about poker, then go to PokerStars.com. Study your opponents, examine their appearance, seek patterns in their behaviour, and then do bad impressions of them, like this.
Okay, you want an imitation? Let's see. Rolling?
The shark is coming!
Man, go to the swimming pool!
When you play with the shark, you're going to lose!
I don't like that.
Oh, I know one guy.
So I had ace king suited, so I re-raised, and then he 6-bet shove, so it was so sick, I folded.
He was always betting like this.
Queen 10? Really? Look at this guy! Queen 10!
Peter Eastgate, he would just grab the hand of chips and just...
I know he have a hand,
but he raised the flop, and I know he's thinking that I was thinking he's going to move all in.
Who do you want me to imitate?
He looks like a serial killer, actually.
Baby, you're letting your emotions get too much into it. You know, it's just a hand. It's Chad.
This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous.
Of course I can't beat the queen 3.
This is so bad. I should just go to my room.
Way.
You know, babe, when you play with Scotty Wynn, baby, it's gonna be all over.
Keep that on, baby.
So now we know that Daniel could have been an impressionist had it not been for poker. Maybe. And what the pros would have been had they not been poker players is the topic for today's powwow, which features EPT title holder and British head-turner Liv Bourret, American Vanessa Russo, who boasts over $3 million in tournament winnings, the man with more EPT cashes than anyone else, Luca Pagano, and 2003 World Series of Poker main event winner, Chris Moneymaker. Okay, let's do this.
Chris, have I ever told you that I decided to become a poker player because of you?
Seems like a very smart decision.
Really?
Do I get a cut for that?
If it wouldn't be for that guy in Vegas, 2003, winning the World Series of Poker, what you were doing now? I mean, what was your dream?
I would probably right now, I'd be like an underwear model probably.
Be one of the Victoria's Secret boys.
Yeah, I could be the guy that gets all the Victoria's Secret girls ready.
All right. Okay. What about you? I saw you winning one of the most important tournaments in the world, the EPT San Remo. What about that?
Yeah, it's still very fresh. It's fresh in my mind. It's a pretty wonderful experience. Not quite as good as winning the main event though. But,
anytime you win a tournament, it's always good.
Yeah, I'm not complaining.
And without that win?
What would I be doing?
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted you guys to guess.
Some kind of a musician. I would guess some kind of a musician.
See, I would go like a veterinarian.
Really?
Yeah, I think you're like an animal type girl.
Do you like animals?
I love animals. Yeah.
All right, that was a good read.
That's a good read.
So what would it be?
I think what Vanessa said, I would have been a rock star.
Bad read.
A rock star?
Rock star, yeah.
Heavy metal one? Or?
Yeah, heavy metal. I want to be badass, what can I say? I fail, I try to, but, you know. So what would you have been?
All right, well, mine really depends on when you ask me the question. I guess if you'd asked me like 5 years ago, I would have said lawyer. If you asked me today, I would say musician. It's something that I've really gotten into a lot lately. I've been composing songs and even performing them, recording them, and something I love as a hobby. So doing it and getting paid to do it would be sick. Yeah. And if you ask me like 10 years from now, it'll probably be like politician or something. So I think Luca, see, I see you as businessman all the way. Like if it weren't for poker, you would have been very, you'd be like a very successful businessman.
I really want to retire soon, so that's probably the best way to do it. Actually, my plan was, I would say, to become some important person in the politics in Italy. I think my dream was to do something good for your country, for my people. And then for some reason, I lost the romantics of the politics, you know.
I know you were an accountant before. I think you were an accountant before the whole thing.
You are correct.
And so I can kind of see that, but to be honest, knowing your personality more, I see you as very, basically you get along with everyone. You never are fighting with people. So I see you some kind of job that involves interfacing with other people and like maintaining relationships over a long period of time.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of different forms of accounting. I mean, I was a tax accountant for a while, and I was sitting behind a desk doing nothing but crunching numbers. I hated that. I was actually an IT auditor, so I actually went out in the field and met people. Unfortunately, I would probably still be doing that if I wasn't playing poker. I went back to work for 9 months after I won, so my plan was to stick with it. And,
why did you do that?
Well, I mean, $2.5 million is a lot of money, but we can't really retire on that. I didn't know poker was going to take off. I mean, after I won, I mean, it was still a small-time thing. So I thought I was just going to go back to work and just put the money away and, not play, play poker recreationally still. Yeah. I didn't realize that poker was going to boom and Luca would get into it, and it would be good all of a sudden.
Okay, that's your lot today. And while we haven't covered everything you wanted to know about poker, we are making good progress. Let's review what we've learned. We explored the types of information you should be looking for when playing both live and online and how to use it to help you make the right moves. We examined how important tells can be in assisting your decisions, and we were given a couple pointers on how to keep your opponents guessing.
To practice all you've learned in the show today, go to PokerStars.com and follow the simple instructions for downloading the free software. Once up and running, enter a small buy-in tournament and pay close attention to your opponents. Before making any decisions, consider your opponent, their levels of aggression and their betting patterns. If you use the advice shared in this show, well, you could be impressed by your own game.
On the show next time, we look at playing made hands. It's all good having a strong hand, but how do you win the most chips? We'll tell you. The vault focuses deeper on fighting curiosity and making those agonizing laydowns. And Daniel Negreanu will be back in the analysis hot seat, offering up expert advice. We'll see you next time.